Hello everyone, this is Sarah, and I'm coming to you with a very, very sad heart. And over this Baba Ijesha story in Nigeria where a grown man molested a child. And what is particularly sad about this whole story is the way the authorities in Nigeria are handling the situation. First of all, I want to talk about the fact that they are saying it's a bailable offense. And I think I also had something that it's not a crime, it's molestation. And that makes me so furious. Like, if molestation is not a crime, I beg, tell me what the heck it is. The authorities who are saying that it's a bailable offense, they should tell us, were they waiting for this man to maybe kill the child in the process? The authorities that should protect the child are saying that this is not a crime, it's molestation. So I'm really coming here to ask a question. Please, someone, maybe I'm being simple-minded, maybe I'm not quite so clued on to understand that molestation is also a crime. And then the worst now is, you know what, my mind is so on fire. There's so many things, so much I want to say, but I cannot even, I'm too angry. But for the moment, please, authorities in Nigeria, police in Nigeria, tell us, if molestation is not a criminal offense, please tell us what it is. Please. Hi, here's the truth. African mother, or any mother for that matter, would tear into pieces anyone who dare threaten the security of our children or the happiness of our children. But at the same time, the same mother would turn around and call our child stupid or idiot or look at your face or negative words. Really, they have a way of completely destroying you. They are conditioning words. If you say them long and often enough, your child will adopt the same mannerisms you are trying to tell him not to. Same threat. I think you are trying to prevent him from. Negative words really are powerful words. They are more powerful than we realize. In my home, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I really try not to speak negative words to my kids. I really try not to. In fact, it gets so that even sometimes when my daughter, for example, would say something, oh my God, I'm so stupid. How come? I said, no, don't say that. I said, oh, well, mommy, I was just joking. I didn't really actually mean that I'm stupid. I say, yeah, but you may have been joking, but words are powerful. Words are spirit. When you speak them out, they just go out to accomplish that which you have asked them to accomplish. And so if you say, I'm stupid to yourself, you're basically asking the spirit to go out and make you stupid. Seriously, they are going to. Think about it. Haven't you noticed something? Every time you think negatively about yourself for one reason or another, maybe, haven't you noticed that for that day, that the moment or time that are feeling so negative about yourself, it affects your every mood? You're not happy, you know something is not quite right, and you walk around just thinking, how do you get yourself out of these terrible moods? That's because the words that you've spoken, you've internalized, they have come out, they have gone out, and they have done exactly what you asked them to do. If you're saying to yourself, oh, I just feel so stupid, for that moment you will just feel so despondent, like you just feel so bad about yourself. And it's not actually that you want to feel bad about yourself. Think about it. Who wants to feel bad about themselves? In the same vein with African mothers, we have all fallen short. We have all done it. I have done it. I have done it. But I'm really I've trained myself to be very conscious that the moment I do that, I have to take it back. If I err in any way, when I err in any way and I say those negative words, if I say it to my kids, I take it back instantly. I will just turn around and say, you've really annoyed me, but you're not stupid. God forbid you're not stupid. And I said, I know why I'm saying, because you have to take it back. You have to take it back. You have to recall the messengers you're sending out. Those words are messengers. So you have to recall them back. No mother wants it to be anything but the very best for the child. But then if you do this and you say, oh, I didn't mean it. Hey, guess what? Whether you meant it or not, it doesn't matter. The fact is, when you send someone on an errand, whether you meant to send them or not, they will still, unless you recall them and say, you know what, I no longer want you to go on that errand, then they will come back. And so when you know you made a mistake, we will make a mistake. As mothers, we're just everyone, not just mothers, everyone does. When you know that you've been that, condition yourself, please, to recall that messenger back, bring him back. The truth of the matter is, what we say matters, especially the words that we speak to our children. So please, African mothers, I want all of your hard work to pay. Investment you've made in your kids, with time, with love, with denying yourself so many things, just so they can have the things that you probably did not have yourself when you were growing up. Wouldn't you want to actually see that happen in their lives, that they're better than you ever were? Wouldn't you want that? Hello, everyone. I'm sure most of you know by now that I lost my mom last weekend. And well, it's been very hard for me to really accept that my mom is gone. I keep looking at her photos, and when I look at her, and then I can still see this gentle smile. My mother was such a gentle soul, like an angel. In fact, I've never heard my mom say something bad about anyone. In our village, in the community we come from, people used actually to talk about my mother. Nobody could understand the kind of person my mother was, because my mother was so calm, so contented, that it grieved my mother's spirit to even hear you speak ill of anyone, talk less of her. Of course, I'm from a polygamous home, and I'm thankful that our home was peaceful, but in a polygamous home, you still have some friction. My mother was the first wife. Of course, the way some polygamous homes are run, when my father would buy something and then we would share the thing into two, we would always want my mother to be the first to take the first portion, because she was the first wife. And I remember my mother would always ask my stepmother to take first. And sometimes we were a little bit upset and even my father used to say, take it, it's your turn, you are the first. And my mother said, no, let her take it first, because she has more children. And at a point, some of us used to think my mother's quietness was a bit of foolishness. We used to say, mommy doesn't say anything. Even when you put your hand inside her eyes, she would take it out, and not even, roughly. She would take it out gently, and we used to think it was foolishness. But it was later that we began to see what it means to have real wisdom. My mother was the most peaceful woman. I sometimes say to myself, wow, if I could be even half of the woman that my mother was, or the human being that my mother was, if I could be even one half of that, or even a quarter of that, I would consider myself blessed. My mother was so gentle that at a point, because of the church, because she was a leader in our church, she was a deaconess in our church, and there was a time they went to some big conference in their headquarters, with people coming from all over. And my mother was so surprised when the head of the entire church, not just the section church, they called her out. And then the head, what they call the general overseer of the church, now said, you see this woman, every woman, if you want advice on what it means to be a woman of virtue, a role model, ask this woman. If you want to know what true wisdom means, this is a woman to speak. My mother was so embarrassed, because my mother was shy. I think she did her things, quietly. And she wanted to walk away, and the pastor said, no, please honor us. Let's just say what we want to say, because what we want to say is for the good. So my mother stood there, and they just praised my mother, and they called anyone who wanted wisdom to go to my mother. And my mother's life was about service to our God, first and foremost, and service to our community. My mother would go to church and clean the church, for anything that was done in church, my mother was there. If they fast, my mother was one of the first. If they had a seminar, my mother was there. Everything. I remember at a point, and we said to her, Mommy, it's not everything that you do, because it's understood that, you're older now. I mean, my mother was comfortable enough to pay someone and say, okay, clean my own, in my stead, clean my own portion. But my mother would always go to church and clean when it was time to do cleaning. And sometimes, you know, when she got there, of course, being a bit older, she couldn't really kneel or whatever for long. My mother would sit on the floor just so that she could clean things in the church. And I remember me saying, but Mom, and you can't be doing things that you used to do when you were younger. And my mother used to tell, people used to even come to her and say Big Mama because she was called Big Mama. Actually, another name that my mother was known for was Mbakara, the fair one. They used to call her the fair one because my mother was really like completely light skinned. I mean, my mother had hazel eyes with light blue ring. Actually, my daughter looks exactly like my mother. She's really like carbon copy of my mother. So they used to say to her, say, Big Mama, or there's a fair one. Don't do this. Let someone do it for you. People will clean in your stead. And I remember my mother saying, listen, when I asked my God to bless me, I clean his house. Is it now that he has answered my prayers and he has blessed me, will I stop to clean his house? She said, I'm doing it for him and I will do it for as long as I have breath. That was my mother. My mother was so against any place where there was no peace. She was so contented. In fact, you know how it is where sometimes daughter-in-laws, you know, we have friction with their mother-in-laws. My sister-in-laws today, they always say they consider themselves very blessed to have a mother-in-law like my mother. Because the thing is, my mother was the kind of woman that if she came to your home and you gave her just bread and water, and then you were eating one cow and eating caviar and drinking champagne, and then she would go back and they say, oh, how was it? How did they look after you? My mother would say, oh, they were so nice. Bless them. God bless them. They were so good to me. And it wasn't like she was trying to be, and it wasn't she was paying lip service. My mother was so contented. She was thankful. I think one of the things that I always take away about my mother was that my mother was so grateful for everything. She woke up in the morning and she was just thankful to have the sun on her face. She was just thankful for everything. A lot of people come to my home and they always say, oh, Sarah, whenever we come to your home, we always know that there'll be food. And most of them don't understand that all of this came from my mother and then my father, of course. My father, my mother, my grandmother. I always say these were the three role models in my life. I used to say my father and my grandmother, they are gone. I used to say where. My mother still is. Unfortunately, now I have to say where to three of them, including my mother. But they were really my role model. My mother would never cook for just, even if we were two in the home, my mother would never cook for 2 or 3 people. If you say, but Mommy, why are you cooking all of this food? We are just 5. She would tell you, well, you never know who might walk by. You need to nurture them. You need to give them drink of water. And you need to give them food before sending them away. So she would always cook for more people than we had in the home. I've taken that from her, from my parents. I have friends who always say, Sarah, why are you cooking all of this food? Do you have a party? And I always say, oh, but maybe someone will come. And they'll say, well, you always say someone will come, but if they don't come, what are you going to do with all this food? And it's happened like that I've cooked so much in the house. And then people didn't come and I've had this food. And I would just call up friends and say, you know what, I cooked this today, or I made this soup today, I made this special today, because I'm into food a lot. And I would say, okay, pass by, I'll make you a plate. Pass by, I send you off. And I always send them off with some takeaways, because this is something that's become such a part of my life. So anyway, this is just some kind of music now. It's my way of trying to deal with the fact that my mom is not there. So it's like my musings. So I'm really calling it a tribute to my mom. In my culture, we say that people die in the eye, not in the ear. In the ears, their eyes die, but not their ears. So what it means is that even when they close their eyes, they're no longer breathing, they hear you. And so for me, this is a way of speaking into the ears of my mother and just say thank you. Thank you that I am who I am today. Any goodness people attribute to me, any ability to encourage, to be there for people, to feed people, to make people feel welcome in my home, in my presence, to be there for people, any of those things, all of those things, when people praise me, I just want to say, Mom, the credit is to you, really. It's to you. Because of the kind of person that you were, I am, really. Unfortunately, I didn't take my mommy's quietness. I'm a little bit of a crazy person sometimes. But anyway, you know, you can't have all the good. So that's the little part of me that's individual. That's my own little thing. But anyway, I said, I didn't take the quietness, the gentility of spirit, maybe not, but all of the good in me, they come from there because you were. They come from you, from the kind of person that you were, Mom. You really were so awesome. I'm so privileged to have been called your daughter. I'm so privileged to be your daughter still, because I know you're dead in the eyes but not in the ears. And so I'm really privileged, and I speak to you as you hear me. I know that you hear me, that your spirit is with me, with us, with your children, all the people that you left behind. You closed your eyes and slept and can't see. We really are who we are because of who you were. And so on behalf of us all, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the kind of woman that you were. We used to think that your quietness sometimes, your ability to just stay silent about everything was foolishness. But I know now that you were the wisest person I will ever come across, because you lived your life. You lived the Bible. You lived God. You lived Christ, not just by word of mouth. You just lived Christ. It's been a privilege to be your daughter. So thank you. Hi, my name is Sarah, and in one of my videos recently announced that I've just lost my mother a little over a week ago. Actually, a week ago. Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yes, anyway, in the last few days, I've been pondering the discussions my mother and I used to have. And some of those discussions were always centered around what to do to have peace, how to be tolerant. My mother used to say a lot, how to just mind your own business. And my mother was a big supporter of mind your own business. Like, for example, when you ask her, okay, what's going on? She said, listen, I have nothing to do with chaos. I don't want to know what's going on. And so in thinking a lot about of the advice that she used to give, the life words, she called them, the life words she used to share. And I just thought I should share some with you. And one of those was SarahG. SarahG in my language means let it go. My mother, SarahG was sort of like a mantra in my maternal family. My mother said when they were growing up, she and her siblings were growing up, they had a situation with other kids outside, and they would run home to report to their mother, my grandmother, and she would always just say SarahG. And so my mother also picked that up. So if you said anything, so you report anything to my mother, whether it happened to you outside or within the home environment, my mother would always say SarahG. And then she would add Yang Nobasi. Yang Nobasi means give it to God. SarahG, Yang Nobasi. Let go and give it to God. No matter how hurtful whatever was done to you, no matter how furious you were, if you went to her fuming, hoping that she would just stand by you and say, he dared to do that or she dared to do that to you, no matter how bad the thing was, my mother would always tell you, SarahG, Yang Nobasi. My mother was a very, very quiet person, very quiet, nothing bad to say about anybody, never pressed for her rights. I, on the other hand, I'm very much against injustice, and so SarahG is not something that I do easily. But then I've been hearing these words a lot, this sentence a lot in the past few days. SarahG, Yang Nobasi. And I'm thinking, is there something my mother is trying to say to me? Friends have been saying, you know what, you really shouldn't cry, Sarah. You have to believe that your mother is now an angel and she's watching over you. In the word of today, SarahG, Yang Nobasi, most people think it's foolish advice. People tend to want to go with the eye for an eye. You do me, I do you back. And so I just want to share this precious gift from my mother with mothers out there, because of course this channel is about motherhood and the ways that we can give values to our children so that they can have the best even when we are no longer there, something that can guide them and guard them even when we are no longer there. So SarahG, Yang Nobasi, advice from my mother. My mother's name was Ima. Ima means love. My mother was love in every sense of the word. She really lived her name, her love, beloved. She lived her name. So SarahG, from my mother to you. Sana yak, yak no basi. Sana yak, yak no basi. Sana yak, yak no basi. Until next time. Have you ever wondered if you're hearing your children loud and clear? Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm speaking to you on motherhood from an African woman's perspective. In the last video, I spoke about, I asked a question whether we are sure that our children are hearing us loud and clear. The reason that I ask is because of an incident that took place here in Austria, I think in June, ending of June, where a 13-year-old girl followed a guy home to his home. Other guys waiting there. Obviously was planned by this guy, and the poor girl was raped by 4 guys who later then strangled her and dumped her body in a bush somewhere. And then I asked a question: what would make a child of 13 go home with almost a complete stranger? I refuse to believe that that child had not been told by her parents never to follow a guy home. We learned that he was 18 and this child was just 13. And so that was why I asked the question: are we sure that our children are hearing us when we speak to them? And so today I am flipping the question around: are we sure that we hear our children when they speak to us? Because oftentimes as mothers, we complain that our children are not listening to us and that we talk and talk and talk, they don't listen to us. But do you hear your own children loud and clear? As mothers, do we hear our children loud and clear when they speak to us? The thing is that when you are talking to your children, I'm hoping that when you're having a conversation with your children, it's actually a dialogue, that they speak and we respond, and they speak and we listen. That's for us to be sure that they're hearing what we are saying and that we're also hearing what they are saying. So I ask you as mothers, are you sure you're hearing your children loud and clear? Because if not, you need to ask yourself, what is it you're doing as a mother that prevents you or that stops you from hearing your child or your children? And so that's what I have for you today. Until next time, here is wishing you good parenting. And yes, again, please, once again, if you like what you're hearing on this channel, please press the subscribe button, like the videos, so that next time I have a video out, you will be one of the first to know. And until next time, here is wishing you good parenting. Thank you for listening to this. Hi, this is Sarah again today. You all know my name by now. Anyway, so this is part 3, how to create confidence in your children. There's something some of us mothers do, or some African mothers do, when their child does something wrong. Rather than call that child aside one-on-one, they would tell their children off in front of their friends, in front of other people, maybe sometimes even total strangers. Here's something that I've learned as a mother. Children don't like to be talked down at in front of other people. I mean, it's just not true. And think about you yourself. Would you like someone to tell you off in front of other people? No. For example, if you have a situation with your husband, or your husband has a situation with you, you would rather he tells you when no one else is there. You would not want him to call out whatever it is you've done wrong in front of other people, would you? Not even in front of people who are your friends. You don't want that. It is the same thing with your children. When they do something wrong, just waiting just a few minutes until whoever is there goes away. It's not going to make a huge difference. Wait until you're one-on-one with them. Call them out on their wrongs. Tell them off if you must. And then discipline them also if you must. But one-on-one, you're trying to raise a child with confidence, to a strong, a powerful child with self-confidence. But you're not really going to achieve that. You're not going to be able to achieve that if you humiliate him in front of his friends, or you tell him off in front of strangers when he does wrong. If you tell someone off in front of other people, they are more concerned about their self-image at that point. They are more concerned about how embarrassing the situation is for them than focusing on whatever you're having to tell them. And so do not tell your child off in front of other people when they do wrong. And whatever you have to say will just be in here and out here. Until next time, here is wishing you good parenting. Thank you very much for listening to this. Ciao. Hi again, this is Sarah, and today we are talking about motherhood. This time we're talking about how to get respect from our children. Oftentimes when mothers want their children to respect them, they demand that respect. It's almost like they want to force their children into respecting them. I just want to make an observation, if you will, that that's not actually the best way to get respect from your children. Any respect that you force out of someone is actually fear, not respect. When you want your children to respect you, you don't force that respect, you command it. And you command it in the way that you live your life. For example, when you ask something of your child, you must show that which you ask of them, that you yourself are willing to put in, you're willing to do it. If you tell your child, don't be snappish or don't yell at me. When you speak gently to me. But then when you speak to that child, you just yell at them and you're very harsh on them. Guess what? They're not really going to learn to be gentle in their speech. When you want your child to respect you, command the respect. Don't demand that respect, because when you command that respect, it's long lasting. And it's actually a respect that they want to give to you, as opposed to a respect that you're forcing from them. Because if you force anything out of someone, the moment you have to force something out of a person, even if that person gives that thing to you, it's based on fear. For example, if you want someone to love you and you try to, treat them into loving you, whatever emotion that they are going to show you to you that seems like love is actually not love. And so that's the thing. That's it for today. So if you want your child to respect you, command that respect, and you command it by walking the walk that you want them to walk. More like they say, by walking the talk. Sometimes kids don't actually need you to tell them do this, do that. Whatever they see you do, oftentimes they will do it. So if you live a certain kind of way, they're going to live that certain kind of way as well. And so until next time, this is Sarah again, speaking to you about motherhood from an African woman's perspective. And so until next time, here is wishing you good parenting. Again, this is Sarah speaking to you on motherhood from an African woman's perspective. Today I've got something exciting for you. Here, look at where I am. Look at how beautiful it is. This is called Udoh-Grossfurthner in Austria, a beautiful nature park in Austria. And so what do I have for you today? What's the point of this video today? The point of this video is, mothers, please, if you have the opportunity, explore. Because you know what I said, I always say, you are what your children see. So sometimes African mothers raise their children with this fear. They don't want them to do anything. If they're going swimming, they say, oh, don't go swimming. What if you drown? If they go up to a mountain, oh, what if you fall down the slope? Why are you going to an area you don't even know? What if something terrible happens? So they raise their children with this fear of always, what if something terrible happens? And so oftentimes we have children who are opportune to be in a beautiful environment that they could explore, but they cannot explore because they've grew up, they've been brought up with this idea that somehow something could happen, something terrible can happen, it's always around the corner. So what's the point of this video today? This is such a beautiful place, Udoh-Grossfurthner in Austria. It's a nature park. Sorry, I don't know. I'm going to find out how many square meters of it. But it's just to let you know this is so incredibly beautiful. My friend called me yesterday. Thank you very much, Miriam Cruz. She said, oh, how would you like to go for a walk at Rohan Farm today? I know me and walking. If you know anything about me, you know that I love walking and hiking. And you know, sometimes my friends actually say to me, you know, you have ants on your feet because you never want to sit still. So as soon as she said that, I said, yes, of course, yes, let's do it. And so here we are hiking in this beautiful, beautiful park. So this is what I'm saying to you out there, to the African mothers. When you have the opportunity, encourage your children to explore the world around them. Do you know, sometimes we grew up, maybe we didn't have the opportunities that they are lucky to have. And of course, we couldn't do the things that we would have loved to do. But when you live in a place where you know there's opportunity, or there are opportunities to just wander into the world and have your eyes open, not just eyes in materialistic way, but what nature, the beauty that is nature, then just go out there and explore. Encourage your children to go out there and just explore. And so on that note, today is Friday. Here is wishing you a beautiful, beautiful weekend. Once again, if you like what you hear on this channel, press the subscribe button, the notification button, like the video, so next time I have a video out, you'll be the first to know. Once again, wishing you good parenting. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's lovely. Okay guys, sorry, I'm looking a bit windblown because I'm outside looking by the water. But today again we are talking about parenting from an African woman's perspective. My name is Sarah, and this week we are going to be speaking about confidence, how to create confidence in your child. And to most African parents and mothers, when you talk about confidence, they're thinking, okay, the person has to be well dressed, the hair has to be well barbed, the shoes have to be on point, the dressing has to be really fantastic, maybe outfit, whatever the person is wearing, probably designer or well put together. Well, all of those things may contribute to self-confidence, to having self-confidence. But real confidence is from inside. Those are all external things. And actually, oftentimes, those very things that some focus on, the perfect shoes, the perfect handbag, the perfect hairstyle, all of those things, oftentimes they actually cover what is not there. Self-confidence is more an inward thing than the things that are displayed for all to see. And so this week we are going to be focusing on how to create confidence in your child, how to imbue your child with self-confidence. And watch this space. I'm looking forward to sharing my thoughts with you. And please, you two out there, share your thoughts. This is not a monologue. It's going to be a dialogue. So we are going to take one topic at a time to address how to build confidence in our children. And so we're looking forward to sharing this time with you. And please like the video, subscribe to press the subscribe button if you like what you're hearing, and also the notification, so that when as the topics come on, you'll be notified. Until next time. Hi, this is Sarah again, speaking to you, motherhood from an African woman's perspective. So today we are continuing with our series, how to raise your children in the diaspora so you don't end up in jail or have them taken from you. And so today we are going to talk specifically about language. And I know some of you are probably going to think, okay, language, what does that have to do with anything? You see, I live in Austria, and in Austria we speak German. When I first arrived in this country, of course, it was necessary like that I learned the language. But because of some personal issues, I was not very keen on learning the language. And this is me, a person who really loves languages. I speak French, I speak Italian, in addition to a few other African languages. And so you would have thought that German, I would just jump in, that I would just jump into German, but I did not. Why didn't I jump into learning German? Well, that's a story for another day. When you move into a country where the language is different from that which you know, from the country you left, your mother country or wherever you left, please do yourself a favor, learn the language. Don't say, well, I have friends or my friends speak English the way I did, or my husband and I will speak English, so what do I really need to learn, know the language for? Because you do need it. Do you know why you need it? To give you confidence, first of all. And again, don't forget that your children are going to go to school in this place. And so if you move to a place, for example, that speaks German, the way we do here in Austria, it's likely that your child is going to go to a German-speaking school, since the child is going to be raised here. So your kids are going to have homeworks. And you need to be able to understand at least enough to see them through, to guide them through their homework, to make sure that they're doing the homework correctly or properly. Because the thing is that here, you've had cases in here where children, brilliant kids that you know are smart, they've gone to school because they didn't understand the language very well. The teachers have written them off as being not very smart. I don't want to say dumb, but they will say, oh, they are not very smart. And as sometimes happens here, they will now start suggesting schools that they should go to. And some of these places they will ask these kids to go to are substandard, because they think that those kids are good enough for the level of the school. So your child is already starting off thinking it's less than, because it's been suggested or it's been pushed into a school that they think fits his understanding. So that's why you have to learn the language. It's one of the most important things that you have to do, one of the most vital things to do when you move to your new country as an African woman who hopes to raise a child in the diaspora. If you don't understand the language very well, for example, and instructions are given from school, and you don't even know what they mean, and you ignore them because you don't know what they mean, it might be something so vital. And if you're not attending to them, or if you see you have a series of them that you have not attended to, the school authorities might think that you're not a very fit parent. They'll just think, okay, that you don't really care. And in their view, or in their opinion, not caring enough to care about what the instructions that are sent from school that you should do, that's also a form of abuse to them. So that's what I have for you right now. When you move to your new country and you don't speak the language, please learn the language. It's very, 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 very important. Until next time, I'm wishing you, good parenting. Oh, by the way, very sorry again. If you like what you're hearing on this channel, please subscribe, press the subscribe button, like the videos, click the notification button. So next time I have a video out, you'll be one of the first to know. Thank you very much for continuing with me on this channel. It's a very hot summer. See, I'm sweating, but thank you for sticking with me nonetheless. And see you next time. Have a good summer too. Hey everyone, this is Sarah again. In the last video, I spoke about nutrition, what we feed our kids. And I was saying that our kids, if we want our kids to be healthy, we have to start with feeding them right. But today I want to touch on the mothers themselves. So if you're talking about the right nutrition for kids, what about you, the mother? What do you eat? How do you eat? How do you keep yourself healthy? Because if you're living a healthy lifestyle, chances are that your kids also will live healthy lifestyle. For example, I've always been someone who likes moving. I go for walks, I go for runs. I do all kinds of stuff. I have 2 children. Because they grew up seeing me live this way, now that they're grown, my daughter and my son do cleansing. They detox, they go on runs. It's become such a part of them. And so my kids have watched me over the years, and they've adopted all of this. So the point of the video is, if they see you live a good lifestyle, they are more likely to also live a good lifestyle. But I have a friend, for example, she would tell me, oh, but Sarah, I don't know how to drink water. She drinks Coca-Cola. Seriously, and not just tiny little bottle of Coca-Cola. She downs the entire big thing. So when she says, Sarah, so how do you get fit? I say, well, start with not drinking 3 liters of Coca-Cola a day. It helps. Start with water. You don't even, it doesn't have to be something like extraordinary. Start with a bottle of water instead of a bottle of Coke. Instead of white bread, brown bread, roast some plantain. Not fried, of course, because no. Take some plantain, roast it, and eat it. If you want your children to live a healthy lifestyle, it has to start with you as a mother. So what are your kids seeing in you? What are you showing your kids in the way that you eat? Sorry, I'm not saying Coca-Cola is not good. Please, Coca-Cola out there, do not crucify me. But fact is fact. If you're drinking 3 liters of Coca-Cola a day, guess what? You're not going to be healthy. So switch things around. I'm not saying do away with your Coca-Cola, but instead of drinking 3 liters, why not start with just 1 liter a day? And then the rest of the time you're thirsty, just drink water. One final thing, please. It's not because we live in Europe, probably meat and chicken and all kinds of things are cheap. That does not mean that you should just eat 3 kilos of chicken or meat or at a sitting. Sometimes it's okay to just eat fish. Sometimes it's okay not to just fry everything that you eat. Sometimes it's okay to boil, to roast, or to grill. Sometimes it's okay not to even eat meat at all. Eat some vegetable. A healthy lifestyle. For your children, start with healthy lifestyle. Your healthy lifestyle. If you live a good, healthy lifestyle, your children are also going to live good, healthy lifestyle. So until next time, he is wishing you good parenting. Thank you for listening to this. Hi there. Do you know where your child is tonight? Maybe he or she told you she went to a friend's place, and maybe your daughter told you that she's going to sleep over somewhere. But have you checked? Is she really where she said she's gone to? Have you checked to see if she's there? Why am I asking these questions? Because yesterday here in Austria, Vienna, where I live, something really, really terrible happened. A 13-year-old girl was raped by 3 Afghanis youths. Well, they say there were 3, but today we just said that there were apparently 4 young guys between ages 18 and 22. They raped this 13-year-old girl, and then they strangled her, and then dumped her body outside like she was kind of trash, like she was some kind of trash. From what the police are saying, apparently one of the guys who was posing as a friend invited her to his home, and she willingly followed this guy home, only to get there and realize that there were about 4 of them, well, from what we are hearing, and then some kind of drug was put in her drink. Of course, from there, you know how the story ended. So this child, mere child of 13, was repeatedly raped and then strangled by this, allegedly by these 4 guys. When I first heard this yesterday, my mind was so troubled, because we are talking here about not just one life is destroyed, the girl's life. We're talking about the life of an entire family. The mother of this child will never be the same again. The father will never be the same again. Our siblings, brothers and sisters, friends, they will never be the same again. When something like this happens, no one involved is ever the same again. So we are talking not just about one person is killed, we are talking about an entire slew of people affected, damaged for life. When I heard that the young girl, willingly followed one of our attackers home, and I started to ask myself, what do we teach our children? What was this child taught by her parents? And do our children really hear us when we teach them, when we tell them things, or when we advise them? Because I cannot imagine that whoever was the parent of this child never told her, do not follow a stranger home, or do not follow someone you hardly know home, I cannot imagine that this child was not warned never to follow some random guy's home. And let's not forget that this was a girl from a different race, and she was attacked by people from another race. So totally something, not that it could not happen with one race to the same race. We were talking here about a people that she probably didn't know very well, did not understand. How does a young girl of 13 just willingly follow some random person home? Like when I was growing up, my parents would say, you do not follow this person home. Even if when you knew them, they would ask, if you went to this person's home, who did you go with? You say I was alone. Why were you alone going with some guy to his place? You are alone, a young girl, even when they knew the person. It was just a given that it was not right for you to follow, some young man to wherever. And so I'm asking myself, are our children, what I'm asking myself and mothers out there, are you sure your children are hearing you? Because there's no way the mother of this child or this child was not taught never to follow some young guys to some random person home. Even if she knew this guy, I'm sure she just knew. Maybe it was apparently happening somewhere called Udoh-Grossfurthner, along Udoh-Grossfurthner. That's a big park. Maybe I've seen her a couple of times, got her to convince her that he was a friend. But still, just a couple of times, even if he met her like 2-3 times and just meeting at the park, still was not good enough, friend enough for you to follow this kind of person home. So people, mothers, please, when you speak to your children, when you advise them, are you sure they are hearing you? Are you speaking to them in a way that they hear you, that you're sure they hear you? When your children say they are going here, are you sure they are going there? When they go to somewhere and say they are sleeping over. I've even heard of cases where young kids, lie to their parents, pretend that they're going to a friend's place to sleep over. Mean that we went out in town. I've seen young girls here in Vienna just puking by this west side, completely drunk. Some of them could probably not have been more than 13, 14, completely drunk and just, throwing up. And I used to ask myself, oh my gosh, do the parents of this child know where this child is at this point, this night, these early mornings? So parents, when our children tell us they are going somewhere, do you check to make sure they're going there? I remember when my girl was little, she would go somewhere, I would call that place later, and the mother of our friend would say, oh yeah, she's here. Why are you asking? I said, well, I want to speak to I will insist on speaking to my daughter. Because make no mistake, there are some mothers who are so silly that their little girls will tell them, oh, if my friend's mother say, are we here? Please tell her we are here. And some mothers, seriously, some mothers are silly enough, and they just, they're just going with their friends to the park. It's okay, don't want to get them into trouble. And they're silly enough, they'll be silly enough to just say, okay, I will, and to go with that kind of nonsense. So not only will I ask the mother if my daughter is actually there, I will insist on speaking to my daughter. And my daughter used to get so upset with me. She used to say, but mommy, don't you trust me? Why would I tell you I'm going there and you still ask, you embarrass me in front of my friends? And I said, well, it's okay. Even if you don't speak to me for a couple of days, because of that I embarrass you, I'm doing my job as a mother. My job as a mother is to embarrass you into safety, to embarrass you to make sure you're safe. So mothers, when your children and your girls tell you this is where we are going to, your kids, girls or boys, and tell you this is where we are going, are you sure that is where they are? Do you call to ensure that that is where they are? Are you teaching your kids right? Are you telling them it's not okay to follow some random person, no matter what they're told? We are friends, we've known each other months, or we've known each other weeks, we've known each other, we've been speaking a couple of times. Are you telling your kids, your daughters especially, don't follow anyone home? Don't take drinks from anyone. Don't allow someone to just open drinks and hand them over to you. Sometimes when I used to say about something like, some people say, Sarah, are you not being a bit paranoid? But I say, I'd rather be paranoid. It's okay to be paranoid as a mother. So mothers, please, are you bonding with your child in a way that allows them to hear you? Do you have the kind of relationship with your child that allows that child to hear you when you advise them? Because I cannot even imagine as a mother to be told this kind of terrible thing, that your 13-year-old child was not, just the thought that that child was raped by 4 random, just raped by these 4 guys. That idea alone in your head is enough to drive any parent crazy.
And then to know that that child was not only raped, but then that child was then strangled. Can you just begin to imagine the few minutes that was left on earth for that child? What kind of horror that child must have gone through? I can't even think. It's so horrific, so horrendous. I don't even want that mental picture in my head. So please, mother, let us do ourselves a favor. Let us be the mothers that we should be. Let us have questions, conversations with our kids. Let us ask the kids, our children, questions. Even if they say we are embarrassing them, it's okay. That's what mothers are for. We are there to embarrass them. We were embarrassed by our parents too. So let us do the right thing. So once again, I'm asking you, do you know where your child is right now? Are you sure that child is there right now? Are you asking your child the right questions? Are you giving your child the right advice? If you're not, please do that. Do so. So this is Sarah again, speaking to you on motherhood from an African woman's perspective. I pray that the soul of this child find rest. I pray that somehow God comforts these parents, the family, the friends, and let's us hope that justice will truly be done, will prevail. Those men or young men who did this terrible thing, may proper justice prevail. Until next time, here's wishing you good and positive parenting. Hi everyone, this is Sarah again, speaking to you on motherhood from an African woman's perspective. A few days ago, I was at a park when I witnessed two young girls, very young. They could not have been anything, I think between 13, 14 highest. And these young girls were wearing very short dresses. And then what surprised me most of all was that they lifted up their dresses, bent down, and started to twerk in a park in broad daylight. At first, I was so shocked. I was with a friend, and I said to my friend, "Can you see that? Do you see what is happening?" And she said, "What?" And she turned around. My friend turned around, and her mouth just hung open. And of course, it would have been okay. Easier if the girls were just doing just one off and you think they just want to do a little shock, being silly and run off. But no, these girls who walk around the park, people were sitting everywhere, open up their skirt, they were playing music, so they open up lift up their dresses, bend down, their asses exposed, they were wearing tongs and they were twerking, broad daylight. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, who are these girls? Who are the parents, more especially? And then the worst of all was that these girls were sitting across from a main road, and they would jump in the park, lift up their dresses, twerk, and then they jump up to where the cars were passing, and they would lift, and they would just back the main road and lift up, and they're twerking. Everyone was so shocked, young girls. And I sat there and said to myself, a couple of weeks ago, I learned something happened in Austria where a 13-year-old girl, went home, with a guy that was 18. She was 13. She went home with a guy, and obviously this guy had planned it. When she got there were 4 other guys or 3 other guys, because there now were 4 guys in total, and she was raped and then strangled. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a 13-year-old girl who went home with the guy on her own intentionally, 13 with an 18-year-old. And then she was raped and she was murdered. And of course, there was such an uproar. It was a terrible thing. But then here I am seeing 2 young girls doing this. And I started to say to my friend, because it was obvious that they were trying to also attract the attention of a group of young boys sitting by. And it was getting dark. And I said to my friend, these girls are behaving like this in a park full of young boys. There are some of those boys who might not be who knows how they're brought up, who might not be such people with integrity. And I bet you, when it goes dark, these girls are going to be mishandled. And so mothers, and I'm just putting it out there, I started to ask the questions, what are mothers teaching their children? Because oftentimes, like I said in one of my postings recently, young girls communicate differently. And the way they communicate, sometimes, especially when they're going through pains, they communicate in ways that are just illogical. Maybe they're going through pains and they're shouting, screaming for attention. And for them, this is a way of getting attention, the attention they are shouting for. And unfortunately, the kind of attention they would then get would probably be the kind that would land them in something very serious, maybe even being raped or maybe being even killed. So mothers out there, when your children are not with you, do you know what they're doing? Are you speaking to your children? Are they hearing you? Most especially, are you hearing them? Are you creating space for your children to speak to you? And when they speak to you, do you actually hear what they're saying to you, or are you hearing what you want to hear? Because I'm thinking, when I was watching these young girls yesterday, I thought to myself, this is not normal. There must be something going on in the minds, on the heads of these 2 young girls. There must be something. Why would very young little girls disrespect themselves so? What are they watching? What's going through their minds to really basically expose themselves in public and twerk and laughing and just going about, just acting a hot mess like they say? It was so shocking. I just kept thinking, oh my goodness, the parents, who are the parents of these girls? Do they know where these girls are? Why are these girls behaving like this? So I just thought I should throw it out there, mothers. When your children are outside, when they are not at home, Do you know where they are? Do you know what they are doing outside? Because oftentimes when we hear of a situation like I said happened a few weeks ago, it's all good, we all act shocked, but there's a root cause of some of these things. Something else must have happened before what happened. Something must have gone into the mind of, must have been going on in the mind of a 13-year-old girl who deliberately went with a boy who was 18 or probably even above. And even if it was just that one boy who raped her, think about it, it would still have been something terrible. That's someone stronger than her, overpowering her and violating her. So mothers, please, ask yourself this question: am I hearing my children loud and clear? And if I am not, why not? Until next time. If you like the video, what you're hearing on this channel, please, as usual, press the subscribe button, like the videos, notification button, so next time I have a video out, you'll be one of the first to know. And on this note, until next time, here is wishing you good parenting. Hi there, it's been a while. This is Sarah, and speaking to you on motherhood from an African woman's perspective. Recently I met a woman, actually a friend, and she brought a little son with her. The child was about maybe 5, and the child was misbehaving a little bit, touching things, going into my private spaces like my bedroom, my daughter's bedroom. And I was really surprised, because I expected the mother to say, no darling, don't go in there, come out, you can't sit there or be there, don't touch that. And rather than do that, she was just laughing and smiling at the child. And I was looking at her, she was looking at me. A point, the child was really touching some very delicate artifacts in my apartment. And I said to her, but please tell him not to touch, it might break. And she just, well, very lightly said, oh, darling, leave that, don't touch. And the child kept doing. And I said to her, it's not so much about the things that the child is touching, but it's about what you're teaching that child. And you should be a little bit firmer. And I was very surprised when she said, well, I don't really want to be too firm with him. He's only a child, he wouldn't understand. When he's grown, I will teach him. And so that's the point of this video. Some mothers think that you don't tell a child, a younger child, maybe a 3-4-year-old child, that you should not really discipline the child when he's maybe not behaving very well, because it's too little, he won't understand. And I thought to myself, we know that, of course, a child, when you're a young child, when you learn to eat, you don't just wake up one day as a young child and eat. You are taught how to hold your spoon, put the food in your mouth. So the same thing goes with disciplining your child, or telling your child firmly not to misbehave. If you say you're not going to tell your child, be too firm with your child because it's too little, when do you think you would teach that child properly? In my opinion, I'm a mother of 2. I have 2 grown-ups now, but they were not always grown-up. They were little kids as well. And I started by teaching them when they touch things. I knew they were little, probably didn't understand much. But the thing is that the more I told them, don't touch that, darling, don't be that way, darling, they learned along the way. There's no way you can just wake up one day suddenly and tell your child, don't do this, when the child has been used to doing that. That child is just going to be a bit confused. Maybe when he's 10 or 11 and start to tell him not to do what he's been used to doing for the past 10 years, the child is just going to be confused. So the point of this video today is, mothers, if you want your child or your children to behave well, to be well behaved, it starts with you're teaching them when they are very little, even when they can, as they understand it. When you tell a child, put that there, call me mom, the child will say mama. You're teaching. So at the same time, that same time you're saying call me mama, and the child is learning to call you mama, call his daddy papa. That same time, teach your child to behave properly. Because it's really, I always find it very odd when children going to other people's homes, and before you can say jack, they're everywhere. They're touching things, they are going to people's bedrooms, they're just all over the place in someone's private space. And the mother, the parents, often they're just sitting there saying nothing and just smiling because they think it's cute. Really, it's not cute. It really isn't cute at all to let your child go into someone's home and just roam around, and you're not calling that child to order because you're thinking it's too small, he or she is too small. And so anyway, so this is just my little thing to you today. This is Sarah again, speaking to you on motherhood and parenting from an African woman's perspective. Until next time, here is wishing you good parenting. By the way, once again, if you like what you're hearing on this channel, press the subscribe button, the notification button, like the videos, so that when next I have a video out, you'll be one of the first to know. Thank you for listening to this. Until next time, again, wishing you good parenting or good motherhood, as I like to say. Hi there, this is Sarah again, and today we are talking about things African mothers should not say to their children. You know how it is that, we Africans who live in Europe, of course, we hear so many negative things about Africa, not just Europe, in the Western world. It's always the bad stories that you pick up about Africa, anything African related in the news. All of the good things Africans are doing, you rarely ever hear of them. Anyway, and so of course we have our children that we are raising in Europe as Africans. And of course, anything that you hear, even if that thing is not what you are, somehow you will start to believe that that's really what you are. And so especially for us African mothers who are raising our children in Europe, it is very important that for us to counter the negative narrative that about Africans or Africa to our children. And so I know that sometimes we are frustrated with some of the things that are going back home, and in our frustration we speak negatively. We make the same negative pronouncement that the mainstream media or the Western people are saying about Africa. And so you hear African mothers, for example, say, oh, Africa is a terrible place. Or even, for example, if you are coming from Nigeria, you hear them say, oh, Nigeria is so terrible. That country is so terrible. And they say this to the hearings of their children. Of course, I'm not saying here that we should close our eyes or our ears to the fact that there are some things that are not very good. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm also not saying that we should lie to our children that all is rosy back in Africa. I'm just saying that we should use our words carefully when we speak about Africa to our children, the children that we are raising in the diaspora. Because if you hear often enough that, that your root is terrible, somehow that will translate in your mind that it means you're also terrible. In as much as we know that certain things are not going on very well back home, we should still try to speak some positive things about where we come from. Oftentimes the things, the good that your children that you're raising in the diaspora are going to hear about your country back in Africa, is going to come from you. It's hardly unlikely, very unlikely that people that are not non-Africans are going to speak to your children positively about your country to your children or in the hearing of your children. A lot of negative things are being said about countries that we come from in Africa, and all of these things, negative words are impacting on our children, because even though they are being raised outside of Africa, their root is still in Africa. And so we do not want them thinking that they are less than what they are or who they were created to be just because of these negative words. And so that's what I have for you today. Do not say that your place is a terrible place, your country of origin is terrible to the hearings of your children, even if you have to discuss some of the negative things. Use your words carefully. And so anyway, until next time, this is Sarah speaking to you on motherhood from an African woman's perspective. I wish you good parenting. and have a happy summer. By the way, if you like what you're hearing on this channel, please subscribe, press the subscribe button, like the videos, press the notification button, so next time we have a video out, you will be notified. And yeah, until next time, here is wishing you good parenting. Hi there again, this is Sarah, and we're talking about motherhood from an African woman's perspective. Today's video is actually for African mothers living in the diaspora. That's mothers, African mothers who are living outside of their countries. If you're from Nigeria, for example, you're not living in Nigeria, you could be living anywhere outside Nigeria. Anyway, so this video today is specifically for those women, and it's tips on how to raise your children so that you don't end up in jail. Those who have lived in Europe for a while will understand that. You know how it is that some African mothers, when they've talk about things that their children should not do or their child should not do, and it seems as if they are talking to the wall. As my grandmother used to say, am I talking to the wall? And so they think, okay, fine, if I can't get you to listen to me, I can smack you into listening to me. Well, if you live in the diaspora, that is a complete no-no. Because if you do, if you're not careful, it's likelihood that you end up in jail or your child will be taken from you. So how do you raise your child, or how do you raise your children as an African mother in the diaspora without ending up in jail? Because it's quite common actually in Europe to have your child taken from you if you've been abusive to that child. Abuse does not necessarily mean that you smack your child, that you've hit your child. Sometimes it could even be in the way that you talk or the way that you are not parenting them. That's parenting from the European's perspective. I've heard of cases, actually many cases, where kids have been taken from their parents because they felt that the home environment was too chaotic, or maybe the parents were fighting a lot and they were always screaming. In Europe, they have people that they call counselors that monitor how the kids are being raised at home. And how do they do that? They ask your children what is happening at home, if they're happy at home. If you're unfortunate enough to have a child who reports everything that's happening in your home, and run a risk of having your children taken from you. I've heard of a situation where, a child counselor have arrived at someone's home, and just because the child went to school and said that the mommy and daddy were always fighting. And so the authorities felt that children could not be brought up in such an environment. And they did investigation, and the kids, and they asked the child how often were mommy and daddy fighting and shouting, and the child said, well, every day. And so they kind of like got all of this unsavory information from the child. And what happened eventually, of course, the child is thinking that he's trying to help the situation, said there's no fighting between mommy and daddy at home, but unfortunately he doesn't know that that information will end up having him taken away from mommy and daddy. And of course, you know that under government care, no matter how much they care, they are never going to care for your child as well as you do. And so oftentimes children that have been taken from their parents' supposedly abusive environment, they've ended up worse. Under the government care, they were supposed to be taken from an abusive home so that they could have proper care, but in the process they ended up really with issues that they probably would never have had if they had stayed under the supposedly abusive environment of their home. And so this video, we're going to be talking about things to be aware of if you're a mother in Europe, African mother in Europe, or you're going to be a mother in future. You don't know some of this, don't have some of this information, because sometimes that's the problem with a lot with Africans in the diaspora. Unfortunately, some have no proper access to information. They just come and do their thing. They go from church to their homes, to their friends' home. They rarely ever have the necessary information until they have to have it. And usually by the time they are they have to have that information, it's too late. And so we are just going to address ways that you can raise your children, or you can raise your child as an African mother in the diaspora without ending up in jail. So until next time, here is wishing you good parenting. And please press, if you like what you're hearing on this channel, press the subscribe button, like the videos, please, and also click on the notification button so that next time we have a video out, you will know immediately, and so you wouldn't miss some of the tips that we are sharing on this channel on motherhood from an African woman's perspective, or parenting tips from an African woman's perspective. Until next time, here is wishing you good parenting. Thank you for listening to this. Hi, this is Sarah, continuing on the series How to Raise Your Children in the Diaspora Without Ending Up in Jail. Sorry, my voice is a bit funny because I have a little bit of allergies going on. Anyway, so you know how they say that prevention is better than cure? Meaning it's better to prevent a disease than to cure it. Well, the same thing could be said for raising children in the diaspora. When you relocate from your place, or whether Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, wherever, to somewhere in Europe or anywhere else, first and foremost, find out the laws of the land. Ask questions. I know that sometimes, oftentimes, African mothers, they arrived in a new place and they find out where their home church is. When you step into a church, into any church you want to go, if that be the first place you want to go to, look around, find out people that have been in that country a long time, people who might or could potentially know more than you, and go to them. So don't be shy, don't feel embarrassed. Go to them, humble yourself a bit, and ask them about laws that govern, raising children. Information is power, knowledge is power. When you have all the knowledge, all of this vital knowledge and information at your disposal, believe me, if you're ever confronted, you'll be able to take care of whatever that situation is. Sometimes some African mothers will say, oh, well, I just want to mind my own business. I don't care about the things in the land, what is concerning me. And that's actually not very empowering, because if you have access to all of this information, you're actually empowered. As I said before in the first video, if you wait to have a problem before you address that problem, it's already too late. And in the case of finding out, it's not allowed to, like in Africa, you want to discipline your child, and you were raised maybe that to get the child to listen to you, sort of sometimes have to just, smack the child. If you come from a culture that allows that, and you come to Europe and you think you're going to continue the same way, you might end up in jail. So when you arrive in your new country, get to know the laws that govern raising children in that country. Because if you know that you're not supposed to, you will have to find another way to raise your child, or you raise your children without resorting to smacking them when they've been stubborn, or when you feel they've been disrespectful. In Europe, there's nothing like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to beg them, I'm going to go to them. Maybe they look at me crying and wailing and they just feel sorry for me. No, they walk by the rules and the laws of the land. And so if you fall foul of the rules and the law, you fall foul. In Europe or in the Western world, I did not know is no excuse. Ignorance is no excuse. So you need to find out what you need to know concerning being a mother or raising children in your new place. So that's the second part of this video. Find out the laws governing the raising of children, parenting children, the moment you arrive in your new place. That's the first thing you should do. It's very vital. Much more than looking for where to make hair, because I know that especially with mothers, that's really important to us. That should be the topmost thing on your list, information on how to raise children, what's allowed and what is not allowed, what you can do safely and what you cannot do safely. And so Until next time, my name is Sarah, and speaking to you about motherhood and parenting from the diaspora, and raising your children in the diaspora as an African parent without risking going to jail or having your children taken from you. If you like what you're hearing, by the way, subscribe to the channel, press the subscribe button, click like and notification button, so that when the next video comes out, you'll be notified. Until next time, here is wishing you good parenting. Hi there. Have you ever asked yourself, or have you ever wondered what your children are watching on TV when you're not there? I'm asking this question because there's so many things going on TV these days that our children are watching. Things that we mothers ourselves, we would be very shocked if we knew they were watching this. It used to be said that, well, if you didn't want your children to watch certain things on TV, you just switch on the parental control, you switch on a button or put in some code, and they will not be able to do. But I tell you, children these days, even 6-7-year-old kids, they know more than their parents how to operate these TVs and computers and whatnot than even their parents. So if you're counting on you switching on parental control button to prevent your kids from seeing certain things you don't want them to see, please think again. Because the other day in the last video, I posted about how I saw 2 young girls exposing themselves in public, lifting up their dresses and twerking in full view of a park full of people. And they were just laughing and carrying on and acting like it was just normal. And then when I was so shocked by this incident that I started talking to a whole bunch of my friends about it. And actually one of my friends asked me a question. She said, you know what, just turn on. She said, have you looked at what is happening on MTV, for example, or any music video, for example? And I said, why? She said, just turn on anything and you see how girls are carrying on. Nobody's saying it's bad to twerk. She said, you will see how women are basically opening up their butts, twerking, and guys are slapping them. And this is something that young girls are watching as well. Young little girls, you have preteens are watching, 9-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 11, 12. So of course, if you have 8-year-old, 9-year-olds watching things like this and broad daylight and no whatever, they grew up thinking it is normal to carry on like that. So, and that's why I'm asking this question. Parents, mothers, are you sure when you are not at home, do you know what your children are watching? Are you sure they are watching things that they are supposed to watch? Are you sure they're not watching things that they are not supposed to watch? We have to be much more alert. Whether we like it or not, what they see, it will impact on the way that they behave. Do you know what your children are watching on TV when you're not there? Find out what they're watching on TV, what you're not there. Find out what they're doing with their friends. It's time for you to come. And I think sometimes, actually, also time for us parents to come together and say there are just certain things that we don't want to see on our TV. After all, we are the consumers. If there's demand, there's supply. Once again, mothers, do you know what your children are watching on TV? This is Sarah again, speaking to you on motherhood from an African woman's perspective. Until next time, here is wishing you good parenting. And please, if you like what you're hearing on this channel, once again, subscribe, press the notification button, and like the video. Until next time, here is wishing you good parenting. My name is Sarah, and I have 2 brothers, and they are both married. And my sister-in-laws, they are really superb human beings. I love them to bits. They're really awesome. And one thing that both of them always say is that they are truly blessed to have my mother as a mother-in-law, that my mother is an angel, and that to them, my mother is not just a mother-in-law, she is their mother. They honor my mother that much. Whenever I hear about the things they say, and I'm always really like, I'm in awe of these things they say about my mother, because obviously I love my mother. My mother is an amazing person, really amazing human being, really an angel. But to hear our own daughter-in-law speak so about her, speak so well of her, and it made me say to myself, wow, you know, as mothers, we always pray that our children will marry good men. We pray that our daughters will marry good men, and our sons will marry good women. But what about ourselves? What about praying that God should give us the wisdom to be the kind of mother-in-laws that we would like to see in the life of our own children? Because we wish for our kids to marry into homes where they are loved by all their in-laws. They're loved by their mother-in-law, they're loved by the father-in-laws, basically they are loved by all the in-laws. We pray all of this because as mothers, we want the very best for our children. But what about sometimes flipping the prayer? The prayer is the other way around, that we ourselves should be the kind of mother-in-laws that we would like our own children to have. Because I think that's really an important prayer. This is a prayer that I've been praying for myself recently. The more I hear about the way my mother is being spoken about by our daughter-in-laws, the more I pray that I will be the kind of mother-in-law that I wish, you know, for my own children. I want to be a mother-in-law that will support the spouses that our children are going to be married to. I pray, God, that I have the wisdom to receive my daughter or my son-in-law into my home and make them also my children. Of course, when they do wrong, for me to be able to speak or correct them with love, the same way that I correct my own children with love. The thing is, when you correct someone with love, it shows, and the person will not take offense at whatever you are telling them. The same kind of in-laws that we want for our sons, that we want for our daughters. Let us pray that God blesses us to be that same kind of mother-in-law for other people's children. So that's it for today. I just thought I should share this with you. Hi there, this is Sarah again, speaking to you on motherhood from an African woman's perspective. Today I'm actually not here to tell you what you should do or shouldn't do. Rather, I'm here to ask you what you do to relax. So we are in the middle of summer. It's very hot and it's beautiful and it's joyful. And one of the things that I like to do in summer is to go on long walks, take long walks, and I'll go biking, just like I'm doing today. And then I come and find a nice place by the riverside or by the canal side. This is Blue Danube, along the canal. And I sit down, I bring a very good book to read, to enjoy. And just like this one, actually this one, the book I brought today is called The Seat of the Soul by Carrie Sukkar, and with preface by Oprah Winfrey and Maya Angelou. You just know that with these two amazing women, or preface by these two amazing women, this book is going to be the bomb. It's going to be powerful. So the book talks about, it says this, the seat of the soul will change the way you see the world, interact with other people, and understand your actions and your motivations. Beautiful summer read, right? Anyway, so that's what I do for summer. So drop us a line. What do you do to relax in summer? Or not just summer, just to relax in general, to de-stress. Because as a mother, we do so much for our kids, we pour so much into our children, and the process can be really, really, really stressful. And so we need to take time for ourselves to to do things that make us happy. I call those things the joy thing, joy things rather. So find something you do to give you joy, something that it does not include other people, that you just go out and do, and it gives you joy. It's very, very important, because if you are not good to yourself, you cannot be good to other people. Even as a mother, in order to be a good mother, you need to be good to yourself. So mothers, love yourself, find your joy thing, enjoy your joy thing, so that you can be the best mother that you possibly can, so that you can give the very best to your children. And so until next time, by the way, here is wishing you a beautiful summer. And if you like what you're hearing on this channel, please press the subscribe button, the notification button, like the videos. And on that note, until next time, here is wishing you good parenting. Happy summer, mothers. Enjoy. Hey, don't forget, love yourself. Love yourselves. Until next time. Ciao.